Hello everybody and welcome to episode 14 of building an Imperial Refinery in LEGO. This will be the finale of the series, meaning that I do get all of the building on the mock done in this episode, although I am going to save minifigure placement for the walkthrough and showcase as to not spoil that. Now, this will be a pretty short video due to the lack of progress, just because I had so much finished in the previous episode. There isn't too much to go over, but still, without further ado, let's get right into all of the building progress. Getting straight into the main attraction of this video, which is this platform. Now, I did change the design quite a bit. I decided to just do a cutout of the landing platform area where any shuttles, transports would land, and that's because I wouldn't actually have any shuttles or anything on it anyways, and I feel like having just kind of a cutout, it could feel much bigger and it could be much bigger, and it also left a lot of room for creative freedom of crates, these little barriers, the explosion, minifig placement in general. The only thing I really have to keep in mind, and what will be changing with this little barrier, is access to the lift. Probably wouldn't want to have it all barriered up and have no access to this area. I'm thinking I might make it almost kind of a security checkpoint here, which would be maybe pretty cool. That's my thoughts. The explosion is also a permanent feature. I have a light in there and I am not going to move it. On the edge of the platform is this nice wall, which intersects, of course, with the angled wall on this side of the base. And I added quite a bit of detail to this, including this little turret, which kind of spins. It could, but I had to prioritize filling the gaps more than the spin, and I didn't want to spend too much time on that. So, it looks pretty good, but it doesn't really have any features to move around, which I would have preferred to have. That is the main detail on this. I also have some pipes running out of this main pillar, and they are pretty cool. They go to the other side and go down into the angled wall. Now, taking a closer look at the details on this side of the wall, there are also some support details on this end, which I am really happy with. I think they don't merge super well with this area, but it has just enough of an angle on the edge that I think it looks pretty nice and still adds that kind of support vibe to that section of the wall. I also have this little yellow line, which I think adds a real nice pop of color and ties in really well with this little yellow wire. The final detail is probably my favorite, which are these two fans, and they actually use a pretty cool piece that I've been wanting to try to incorporate into a mock for a while. Finally figured out how to with these arches surrounding it. So let's take a look at that piece. I don't have any more in dark bluish gray, but this is the piece. It is some kind of jet engine, and then the fan blades that go in it, which together, of course, looks like a really nice fan, and it is quite detailed for any gear, really, to be able to put inside of anything that is around a 2x2 circular size. And I think this turns out as a really, really nice detail. The only problem is that you need a really nice amount of space behind it to incorporate it. Now, what I did with these ones is surround it with an arch, and then it's actually just kind of pinned up against some supports in here. And so you can see it kind of pops out a little bit. That's just because it's not perfect. But if I were to have more space to work with it, I could definitely make it a little more nice and clean. Moving on to the lighting of the hangar, I am really happy with how this turned out. Having the lights a little spread out and just having 5 of them, I think lights up the hangar perfectly, and from this distance looks really nice. And I think overall it is about the perfect lighting for the hangar. Since it is so open, there will be other light getting in when recording final shots, so it will not just need to be the ceiling lights, but it adds a really nice detail. Now, the only unfortunate part about the lights is to access the battery box for these lights, as well as some of the lights in this side, is that I have to remove this whole section of the wall, and to do that I have to remove some of the piping details, the wall details, as well as any figures or anything that is just up against the wall, which does mean that placing the figures in and just any details will be much harder in this area, because I do have to have enough space to either remove this, or I have to record around that and pretty much do this either first or last, and any shot with this first or last, as that is pretty important to be able to access the lighting for other shots. So this being the finale, I do want to go over some minifig placement and ideas for minifig placement. My main idea is I want the main battle area to be here, of course, on the platform. I want some Imperial forces already up here fighting probably 4 or 5 Mandalorians that are jetpacking over this wall, one of which I of course have this missile being shot. Really love that detail. But that is my main idea for the battle so far. Not too sure on the specifics, but I want probably about a third of my Imperial minifigs on this area. I then want, of course, the command center figs, just officers, a couple guards, that kind of thing. I want a clone trooper in the barracks, one running out onto the probably final position for the platform. I think this level is pretty nice. A few guys in the hangar, especially the scout troopers on their speeder bikes, with one speeder bike driving out, and a couple more Mandalorians that are kind of set up out here with a sniper trying to diminish the forces on vehicles that could attack any Mandalorians that are attacking other areas of the refinery. I then want a couple Mandalorians coming over the wall on this side with just a few Imperial figures, which should only be 3 or 4 is my guess. And then the final area of the mock is this lower section, which will have the Easter eggs, the 2 that I have so far, which is some Shadow Troopers and what you can see there, which I won't say anything more about. And then if you guys have any other Easter eggs on figures, whatnot, that would be amazing to let me know, and let me know where to add them to the mock. The final spot is the cave, which I haven't talked about in a while, but I will have 2 or 3 Mandalorians in there getting ready to blow through the pit or the wall of the pit, which is probably not going to be shown off very well, but I still want to have a couple figures down there. Anyways, that is sadly going to wrap up the finale of building an Imperial refinery in LEGO. I really appreciate everybody who has watched through the whole series and seen the whole process of building this mock, and I am really quite happy with how the final product turned out, and with minifigs I think it will be a really awesome mock. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing with notifications on so you don't miss the showcase and walkthrough of the mock, as well as any future mock projects.